I was on a plane taking off from Hawaii to LAX and it exploded. I was the last person out of my section to make it out. That was a near death
Wow.
experience, called on the carpet, questions I were asked. They're not condemning, they're just saying, do you love yourself? I answered no. Do you love your family and friends? I answered no. Are you living your goals and dreams? I answered no. And they said, if you die today, have you left this planet a better place?
Every journey has a story, and every story has the power to heal. My story hasn't been ordinary. I was adopted. I'm a survivor of abuse and trauma, and I have more than a dozen siblings. That's just the beginning of my story. Life has taken me on a long and winding road of healing and personal growth, a journey that ultimately led me back to myself and the path I was meant to walk. Along the way, I discovered that stories have power, the power to connect us, to help us grow, and even to help us heal. This is Travel Time Stories with Shannon. Real journeys, real stories, and real healing. What if the struggles you're facing right now didn't actually begin in this lifetime? What if the fears, patterns, even the relationships that feel so similar are echoes from lives you've already lived? Today's conversation might challenge everything you think you know about your life and why you're here. Welcome back to Travel Time Stories with Shannon, where every journey has a story and every story has the power to change us. I'm your host, Shannon from Texas, and I'm joined by my co-host, Ann from Missouri. Today, we're joined by Donna Hartley, international speaker, inspirational author, world-renowned past life reader, and awakened survivor. Someone who has quite literally crossed between life and death, not once, but 6 times. Through those experiences, Donna says she didn't just survive, she came back with answers. Answers about purpose, about pain, and about the deeper story behind all of us. Donna has shared stages with legends such as Robin Williams and Dick Van Dyke, been featured on major networks and in the New York Times. She has helped thousands of people uncover the patterns shaping their lives, patterns that may not have even started in this lifetime. Donna, we are so honored to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. And I get to talk about the subject I like the most. Are your past lives showing up in this life and still controlling you? And people say, well, why should you learn about a past life? And I say, because patterns and also gifts are here and you can tap into those. You can heal them. You can also excel in those gifts. That's the only reason it's important. So I want people to know the most important life is the present one. But boy, it does get influenced by those past lives.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. I have seen things in my own life that I feel like were left over from
Mm.
previous life that I'm having to deal with now in the present. So this is a very important topic for me. And I think to a lot of our listeners to be able to learn about the past lives and how they affect our present today.
So let me start off how it all starts. And why are you on Earth right now? And how did this happen? It's a much bigger process on the other side than we even imagine. And I have to laugh, Shannon, when you introduced me, you said, I survived this and that and cancer and I got 3 heart surgeries. I mean, 6 times I've crossed over and 6 times they've sent me back. So what does that tell you? I got lessons down here to clear up. So I am really working very hard at cleaning up those lessons in this lifetime. So,
Right.
yes, you have lived before. Yes, you will live again. And yes, you will be held accountable for your actions, not in a negative way. So see your life. You plan it before you come in. You meet with your ascendant masters, your spirit guides, your karmic family, lessons that you want to learn, friends, relatives. And you work out what you want to do, the patterns. Not that you want to live in a wealthy house, nothing like that. But do you have compassion? And maybe you have to learn patience. And maybe you want to be a caregiver in this life because maybe in other lives, people took care of you. So you kind of choose those patterns and then those lessons. I mean, people have addictions to work out, and they say, I finally want to conquer that in this life. Then you also have gifts. You might be a communicator or a healer or a teacher. So you say, I want to fine tune those and even go another level higher in this life. And then they decide, okay, this is the country that is best for you to be born in. These are the parents. So I always say this and say it again so people get it. You choose your parents. Okay. I said, no way I would have chose my parents, right? But I
Right.
chose my parents. I had a violent father and an alcoholic mom. Are you kidding me? But when I look back, they made me go in at a very early age. So yes, they gave me that wisdom. Then this is the other one. Your children choose you. Okay, the ones that don't listen to you at all, the ones that give you a hard time, and you agreed to it. Okay, so that's all set up, and then they decide this is the time period. You work with your angels. This is where I want to come in and earth, be born, but I don't want to live there. I want to live in another country, but I want to have that culture from India with me, but I want to go to America because I have opportunities. So that's how it kind of all works out. But what happens, many things in your life are familiar. You can't kind of put your finger on it, but people feel familiar, places feel familiar. That's past lives coming back.
So why would we choose a life that includes pain, loss, or struggle?
Oh, yeah, that's the number one question I get. Okay, why would we choose that? Because otherwise, our soul is very vanilla. It doesn't have any depth. It doesn't have any knowledge. It doesn't have understanding. So, who wants to do that over and over and over again? Yes, when we get down to earth, we go, are we crazy? This is way too hard than I expected. But unless you go through that, you don't understand. No, so here's an example. You go through what you say karmic returns. It's patterns, and they are not Mercury and Saturn return. You go through it in your late 20s, 62. Now think about it, ladies. Did you get divorced? Did you get married? Did you get a new job? Did you have children? Something happened different during that period.
Yes.
Am I
Mhm.
correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
see?
correct. Mhm.
And I'm sure all your listeners and viewers are saying the exact same thing. Then guess what? You go through it again in your mid 50s, like 56 to about 62. And that one says, why am I here? What's my purpose? I've raised the kids. I had a job. I was married, whatever. Then if you're still on the planet, you get to go through it again in your 80s. But what I'm talking about is those periods shake you up. So if you're not on your path, they get you on your path. So here we go. I was a Hollywood actress struggling, and I really wasn't living the life I should in Hollywood. I was trying to be someone I wasn't. So what did I get? I was on the verge of killing myself. I thought about giving up my life. I was on a plane taking off from Hawaii to LAX, and it exploded. I was the last person out of my section to make it out. That was a near-death
Wow.
experience, called on the carpet, questions I were asked. They're not condemning, they're just saying, do you love yourself? I answered no. Do you love your family and friends? I answered no. Are you living your goals and dreams? I answered no. And they said, if you die today, have you left this planet a better place? And I screamed no. And I said, let me live. And I crawled on all fours and I made it out. And my one leg almost didn't make it. But at that moment, my assignment changed. It said, get out of Hollywood and get on your spiritual path. Now, I was stubborn. I had to learn the hard way. So when people keep finding blocks in their life and things are difficult, it's because you haven't gotten into your life, your path, your purpose. So those things come up. So with my parents, I had a difficult challenge in the beginning. I love my parents, but I had to understand that they were doing the best job they knew at that time. So I had to learn later to forgive them. Because if you don't forgive people, you're caught in that pattern over and over and over for a lifetime. So those lessons come up. I've had 3 heart surgeries. Is that fair? I'm kind of a health nut. I exercise, I eat good food and that, but I was born with a bad valve. while we're here, let me explain how this valve came up. And there's another thing important here, Shannon and Ann, and I shouldn't have figured this out. Look at my last name. What is it?
Hartley.
I know.
It's in
Hartley.
the
I've got
name.
my karmic lesson right in my last name. And I never married, so it's been with me the whole time. So during my last surgery, which was during the pandemic, it's always been an aortic valve. I was born with a faulty aortic valve. 3 surgeries. So I said during that surgery, I'm going to cross to the other side. I'm going to come back and I'm going to figure out what I haven't learned. What did I not do? And I had a lot of lack of self-worth in my life and everything in the beginning. So when I'm under the knife, as they say, and they're replacing that aortic valve, I went to the other side. I saw myself way back in the Middle Ages. I don't know if it was England, Ireland, one of those, Scotland. And I was like an urchin. I was stealing food and apples and had rags on me. I was about 14 or 15. And, I saw no parents, so they must have died or I don't know. And then the Lord of the land came through the town on a magnificent horse and he saw me. And the next day, he sent 2 women to clean me up, wash me, put new clothing on me. And I got a room in that little village. I had a room. I had a fireplace. I had food. I had a bed. I had a chair. I mean, I had never had that. And yes, I was his mistress, but that's what I knew when I finally had a roof over my head. The townspeople, of course, didn't like me. They gave me this beautiful green cape. Oh my God, it was like a velvet. It was so soft. And this went on for years and years and years and years. I was his mistress. And finally I said, I'm pregnant. You must divorce your wife. He said nothing. I said it over again and over again. And the next day and the next week and the next week. And I lost the child. I had a miscarriage. But I continued to lie to him. I continued to lie because I thought, here I am still in my teens, that of course he would leave his wife and marry me. Well, so one night I'm walking and 2 henchmen come by. One gets off the horse, the other one holds it. They take a dagger and they stab me right in my aortic valve, right in my heart. And I fall to the gutter and I die. It took the townspeople 3 days to even get me out of that gutter and throw me into a, general grave and cover me up. But I died with anger. I died with betrayal. I died that I wasn't worthy. See what I mean? I died with hatred and I blamed him. Okay, so let's come to this life when I'm looking at it. And I go, oh, I was part of the problem. I lied. I betrayed him also. We both were using each other. So I had to go in. I had to meditate. I had to scream. I had to let all that go and say, that was then. That's all I knew. I forgive myself for what I did and for what I lied. But I have to forgive him too. And the henchmen I have to forgive, and the townspeople. And I said, I don't want to draw this to me ever again. So now that I'm aware, I can let this go. Got to tell you, my heart's better now than it was years and years and years ago, my heart doctor. But that's that Hartley. And then another thing, my entire family line has died of heart diseases. Aunts, uncles, grandmother, grandfather, father, mother, stepfather, everybody. So I took on 7 generations of bad heart coming from the Irish line. And now my cousins are aware of it. We're all getting treatment when we need it ahead of time. See? So sometimes you have a personal one you have to clear up. Okay, there's my Hartley. And then I took it on for my generational. See? So how does it show up? Heart surgery. I'm going, why am I at 16 having a first heart surgery? Because
Right.
that anger was still embedded in me and it wouldn't let me love myself. See, that was the other thing. That's where my unworthiness came from because I felt I was betrayed and not worthy. But when I came to the terms that I was part of the problem, I had set it in motion. It was this time to forgive it. Does that make sense to you, ladies?
Very
Yeah.
much. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's why we choose,
Wow.
Shannon, those patterns to clean up from another time. So I got my health issue and looking at my unworthiness. Where did that come from? Because I felt used and betrayed. But I did
Gotcha.
just as much using and betraying also. See? So I had to claim up to mine too.
That's
Right.
that's incredible. So
Yeah. Yeah.
do you think is that why some fears feel irrational or why we repeat the same relationship patterns over and over?
Yeah. The relationship, we've never healed them from another lifetime.
Before we continue, I want to share something really special we've created for this community. If you've ever listened to an episode and felt something deeper, like a moment that stayed with you or a story that made you reflect on your own life, we wanted to give you a place to go with that. We've officially launched our Travel Time Stories membership, where you can go beyond listening and become part of the experience. Inside the membership, you'll get access to the Story Circle, our private community where we reflect on each episode through guided journal prompts, share our stories, and connect through monthly meetups. There are also additional tiers with opportunities to go even deeper, from storytelling and sharing your voice to being part of the creative journey behind the scenes and joining us on our yearly group travels. If this speaks to you, you can join us through the link in the show notes or visit our website, traveltimestories.com. We would truly love to have you join the community.
So we do them over and over again, thinking we're going to blame that person or this person. But if you choose someone in another lifetime that maybe controlled you, and so for women, this is especially true, because look at history. We had no voice, okay?
Right.
The men had all the control. So we make an arrangement to come down and we say, okay, we've been together in another lifetime. Maybe it was a Puritan lifetime, when they came and they settled America. And as a woman, I had no voice. I had to do what the church said and as my husband. Now, in this life, you're going to marry the same husband. And the husband says, okay, it's going to be different. I realized I controlled you. So I'm going to be present for the children. I'm going to be part of their life. I am not going to be running off with the men of the church or the organization. I will let you be an equal partner. We'll communicate. We'll build our family. So that sounds good. So you meet this wonderful man. There's attraction because you've had other lifetimes together. You get married, and the first 6 years are fantastic. And then the patterns start to show up. Now he doesn't run off to the church with the guys, but he runs off drinking with the guys. He's not present. He starts to yell at you. Why did you make that dumb decision? That wasn't a good investment. You don't know how to do that. See, it comes back.
Mhm.
Now, differences in this life, you have agreed on the other side. If we aren't partners, I'm going to choose to divorce you. So this is a very hard pattern for a female that hasn't had a voice. So you get divorced as that female. You have to put your life back together. So Shannon, you can imagine all the pain. You're worried if the children have food, where are you going to live? Is this fair to
Mhm.
anyone? All those things come up then for a female, but you don't realize you're showing your children you shouldn't tolerate unhealthy and toxic relationships, but you should find your voice and heal. So you just can't cover it up. You really have to go in. You have to meditate. You have to spend time understanding who you are and that you're gaining your strength. You just can't say that's over. I wish it was. But anyway, you have to forgive him, really forgive him to the core, not easy, and forgive yourself. But that's why the difficult challenge comes, because you have to gain your strength. So maybe in 10 lives that relate to this life, you didn't have a say. The man controlled the money. The man made the decisions. The man told you what to do. The man argued with you. The man hit you, whatever it was. And in this life, you had to give that up. I was a hopeful for the Winter Olympics in snow skiing. I practiced all the time. My father had custody of me on weekends. And that was like my dream. My favorite place in the world now is still on the ski hill. I love it. So, but my father beat me. And the one time he beat me when I was 17, I remember going in my closet at his house, in the closet, shutting the door and saying, I love skiing. I want to race. I can't race without his money. I can't afford it. But do I love myself more as a person? That was the answer. And I went out, this is before cell phones, and I met a friend in high school. I didn't really know him. In my big high school, I was an hour from my home in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. I was in the Poconos. And he said, oh, I ski at the ski hill. And I said, oh, that's where I race and train. As a fluke, I called the ski lodge, and he was in there having hot chocolate. And he picked me up and took me out of my father's home and back to my mother's an hour away. See how the universe works with you when you make a decision to carry your strength. Now, do I ski today? Yes. Now, did I make it in racing? No. Do I still love it? Did I heli ski in Canada and New Zealand and things like that? Yes. So I still got my opportunity. But I'm saying your soul in this life has to recognize things and then act upon it. And once you do, the universe, God, everybody works in your favor, but you have to do the work. Okay.
Yeah, so that kind of relates to we had another guest a few days ago, and she had said, and it was something that really made me think for the first time, that your external environment doesn't change until you change your internal environment. And once you change your internal environment, that's how the external changes and you are more aligned and on your path and start receiving the things that you want to receive.
It's not the outside. People always think it's the outside. You are
Yeah.
right on, Shannon, and your guest was right on. Because once you go in, once you realize you have some issues and understand, people say, well, why do all these issues come up? So, I mean, not only do I do a Akashic record reading, which is levels 1, 2, and 3, and we repeat life after life, there are other planets and galaxies. So before there was even Earth, there was Lemuria, which was a highly developed one, where like Hawaii is. And then there was Atlantis. That's another one. And then before that, there was other galaxies. So not only are you bringing past lives in, you're bringing levels up there into this life. And they knew back then to have telepathic. They could read your minds. They could travel. They could kill themselves. So there is a lot of lost gifts that we're looking at now on our planet to start to bring back. People are more open now that these things are possibilities because they're tired of repeating Earth is the lowest dimension of all the planets. So you come here to clear it up. But that's why I say raise your vibration through every lesson you go in. Get rid of that anger. Get rid of that shame. Yes, it's going to take time. Might take therapy. It might take walking in the woods. I always say go back to nature. Junk the junk food, because when you eat too much sugar, it makes you crazy and you're not a leader then. You're just a follower, So read those labels. When you got 5 grams of sugar, it's 1 teaspoon. I was looking at something the other day. It was 40 grams. And I go, that's 8 teaspoons in that drink, of sugar,
It's
in
crazy.
one drink. Yeah, I didn't have it. So I'm saying there's little things that you can do every day. Grateful. Every day say you're grateful for something. I'm grateful sun's out today. I am grateful I could take a 10-minute walk. I am grateful I have friends. It doesn't have to be overwhelming, but if you start to get in that's what your body, that's what your energy starts to accept. Meditation. Slow down. So I have a line called zip it, pay attention. Okay. And what does that mean? We beg, we pray, we ask for change, and it doesn't happen. Okay. Because what you have to do after that is meditate, get quiet, even 3 times a week, just to go in to calm down. Then you get that intuitive flash, and everybody has it. Intuitive flash. You get that flash, you go, yes, that's the answer. Then you have to act upon it. And here's where Earth and the brain keeps you stuck. That might not really happen for me. I won't do that now. I'll do it another time. There you had your whole answer, but you're afraid to act upon it. So you get stuck in the pattern of Earth over and over again and attracting the same men then because you didn't do the work. You didn't get healthy. You didn't spend the time to heal, And so you're going to go into another partner with the same pattern until you really open your eyes and say, no, wait, I got to ask some healthy questions before this relationship goes too far to find out if it's, we're a match for this. Nobody's perfect, but are we a match? So that's where we then put on the blinders. See, when we come to Earth, what we do is by age 6, we know before that who we are. But age 6, the blinders come down. And then we forget about the other lives. Because if we know about the other lives, we aren't going to do the learning lessons here. It's like the test is here on Earth. And then you have to say, I'm through this now. And I remember when I broke up with a guy once and I said, he's the last of the longest of the worst. And I've never attracted a man like that in my life again. See, when I finally said it and I finally healed and I didn't date for years and I looked in. So it's work. But knowing those past lives is just a clue. So Here's another one. When I Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, where I was born. So very much a German and different religions. Bethlehem, are you kidding me? So all these
Mhm.
religions I got. And in school, you had to take German. I hated it. I didn't like the sound of it. Now I was like a B student, but my teacher said, look, you have to take this to go to college, to get in, but I can maybe give you a D plus or a D, for after 3 years. That's all I was averaging. I hated it. And then when we had World War II movies, I remember to this day running down the hall and throwing up because I was killed in World War II. I was captured in Poland. I was Jewish. I was in a concentration camp for only 3 months before I was shot before the wall. And
Wow.
people say, how can I forgive? I said, first of all, what happened to me was just what was going on in the planet. I was a number. And second of all, I remember doing a past life, I came out of my body before the pain and the bullets hit me because I was innocent. So I never felt the pain. My body went right, I was lifted right out and I could see myself there. And I was thankful that I didn't have to put up 3 years in that concentration camp. See, so but it affected my life studying German and
Right.
the World War II movies until I forgave the both men that shot me. And I forgave myself just for being innocent. It was only my father and I in a little village. They captured our whole village. So see how it affects us?
Yeah, exactly. That's incredible. But how do we heal something that we can't consciously remember?
Well, but we do see the patterns. Okay, there's a couple ways. First of all, you feel things. And Shannon, you've probably felt this person for a second, I'm repelled. See what I mean? But
Yes,
you don't know it,
yes.
right? We're like,
Yeah,
why do I get this sickness over and over again? You got to ask the right questions. This
okay.
sickness might have stemmed from another life. Okay. Or why did I attract 3 men like that in my life with the same pattern that were never present for me and always cheated on me? See, you got a pattern.
Yeah,
So you might not have to have a past life reading, but you see the pattern. Then that pattern, you have to make a decision as a soul to say, I am down here to get through that. So maybe I need to go to therapy. Maybe I need to go to group sessions, whatever it is for you, talk it out with somebody, but say, I want to learn the steps. So this pattern goes away in my life or this health issue. Why did it come up? And once you start to become aware by asking the right questions, instead of saying, oh, I always do those things. I always get fired from a job. I always get let. Guess what? It's going to continue. It's going to continue until you choose to break the cycle. So I always too, I take let's see. Let's see if I can say the right word. It's a black stone. It's a volcanic stone. Oh, do you know what I'm talking about? Obsidian. Obsidian is the stone. So I
yep.
have it here. Friend gave me. I always put it like on my chest if I'm going into something and say, I just protect myself from anything negative, any negative people, you know what I mean? From any negative
Mhm.
situation, because I talk all over the world. So I say
Right.
we have to also protect ourselves from extra negative energy coming in. So remember, the earth is the lowest vibration of all the planets that ever existed. And that's why people come here. They can clean up their karma and their lessons quicker than any other place on any other galaxy. So we're in the toughest classroom in the universe.
Wow. I never would have thought that Earth is the lowest vibration.
Right.
I know, but we are because we get to learn, but we also can make it the most beautiful one too. When we raise that vibration, when we have kindness in our heart, when we don't judge, when we are honored for every situation we have, then it can, and the earth is beautiful. I mean, look at the places on this planet,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
then you do traveling and stories. I mean, I've been all over the world. They're gorgeous. I'm blessed there. But once I show up, I go, have I lived here before or not? Sometimes it doesn't ring a bell and sometimes it does. So here's an example. I graduated high school in Pennsylvania. I went to the University of Montana for 2 years and raced skiing, but had a
Wow.
very bad season, the second one. A girlfriend of mine sat in the library. It was minus 32 degrees and the winds were blowing sideways in Missoula, Montana. And we said, let's go somewhere else. And the only 2 states that had out of state tuition for my girlfriend, she was from Montana, not me, were Hawaii and Alaska. And I said, that's settled, Hawaii. So we filled out the forms, we got accepted. We went there without any housing, anything. When I got off the plane, and I'm wondering if you've gone through this, gone somewhere, and you look around and you go, my gosh, this seems familiar, this place.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's
Yep.
right. And I go, "Oh my god, I have been here before, but never had, and we didn't have TV wasn't colored, I mean, I didn't have any of that." So, I went to college there, and it just felt like right, and I surfed, but there was something else I wanted, and that was the title of Miss Hawaii. Now, I don't look Hawaiian, okay, but I ran for it the very first year, and I lost. So, I came back second year, I ran for the title. I knew having that title would open up doors for a lot of things. I lost.
Right.
I ran the third year. I lost. The fourth year, I worked on my gown and my hairstyle and, all those things. The fourth year, and finally, I lost. And I said, I'm not running again. I am not ready. This is personal rejection, right? This is personal. But it started to get close near when the pageant was coming up. And I said, I'll give it one more shot. But I changed my mindset. I said, I am Miss Hawaii. This crown is mine. And I had voice coaches, gowns, photographer. I worked with everything. And when I walked down that ramp, I swear the judges said, you know, she is our Miss Hawaii. And by the way, she's not going away. So let's do it. And I was crowned Miss Hawaii the fifth time.
Wow.
Now, what I didn't know till later, and it's the dreams, because that's another way to find out past lives are influencing you. I kept seeing myself as this little short Polynesian lady, had a little hut, and I had two pigs. And I was the royalty of that village. It's when the Polynesians first came over and started to come to Hawaii. I shouldn't have been the queen, or whatever. My two brothers should have been the leaders of our village, but they were killed in outrigger canoe accidents. So it went to the next in line. And I was a good leader. And, I taught leadership. That's the first thing I started with all over the world. Inner leadership, though. So I was royalty, just with a little grass hut and two pigs and, and the whole thing. Now I really got the crown, so of course I didn't say that to the people, in Hawaii at that time. Now I'm older, I can say that, but that was my connection. See what I mean? That was my connection. I knew it, but I couldn't place my finger on it in the beginning. So when your listeners, when they travel somewhere, one of the questions they should ask is, have I been here before? Is it is there a lesson for me? Or is there a gift that I'm here? Maybe there's a gift that you're going to travel to Japan and you get exposed to art. And then you come back and you say, I want to do that kind of art. See, it opens your soul to gifts and opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
I felt that, what you're talking about. We went 2 years ago, Ann and I did, to Scotland.
Yeah.
And as soon as we stepped off the plane,
Eh?
I just felt like I just had this overwhelming feeling that I had been there before and that this was my home.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too.
But I had never been there.
No.
No.
But I think I have in one of my lives. I must have lived in Scotland because it just felt like home to me. Everything was
me
so
too.
familiar.
Where did you get off the plane, Shannon? What's
In
city?
Edinburgh.
Edinburgh. And Ann, same thing?
Yeah.
Edinburgh? Yeah.
Yeah.
I guarantee when you had that feeling, and I was there this last year, I knew exactly where I was. When I went to one of the outer islands, I went, that's where I lived. You know what I mean? So it's
Mhm.
your soul calling you back. Because there was some good memories then, of course, tough memories too in Scotland at the time, but some
Yeah.
good memories. You were connected to the earth. You had family and community around you, which are important to you now. You had some of those values. You celebrated with families. You also had fear in you because you were always being invaded, your country. So there's a lot of those traits, but you know it. That, what you see, it said it's time to travel there because it's time to connect with that good energy that you had in another lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that country. It was a pistol. And Edinburgh's a whole other story. It's gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
It was fabulous. I'm ready
Yeah,
to go back.
we traveled, we rented a car and we traveled all over the whole country. And then we went to the Outer Hebrides as well. And every place we went was just more beautiful and we felt more connected than the place before. So Yeah, it was amazing.
Maybe
Well,
that's where we knew each
I
other
admit, I
from.
admire you driving on the wrong side of the road for us, and those little highways, those little streets in the outer country, I go, "Oh my gosh," they were so scary for me. I know we had a bus driver, and there was 24 of us. I took a women's group when we went over there, so I nobody had to drive, and we just kinda almost closed our eyes when we were
Oh,
passing trucks and stuff.
yeah.
All the power to you.
Yeah.
Especially islands when you couldn't see what was coming around the mountain at you. It was
Yes.
whoa. Yeah, but it was worth it. It was so fun.
See, so that's your soul telling you. See, because Shannon, you said, how do you know? How can you heal something or do it when you don't know? But we do know when we pay attention. All of us have intuition, and your intuition told both of you had lived there before, you know? So
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, the
And so
country
the
was
fact that
familiar and the smell, sorry.
no,
Okay.
you're good. No, I was just going to ask. So the fact that in this life now, I feel, I mean, I'm very intuitive, very, very intuitive. And I feel like that I have like powers. I know that seems weird to some people be like, oh, come on, but that's what I feel like. So does that
Hmm.
mean then more than likely in a past life, I had those abilities and that gift has
Yeah.
come with me?
So tell me where you were born in Texas, Shannon. You in Texas? Were you born in Texas or where?
Yes, I was born in Texas, Pasadena, Texas.
Pasadena. And so what is the major city near you besides Pasadena?
Houston.
Houston. Okay. What Native American tribe do you relate to or in that area? Is it Cherokee, Chippewa? Is it Shawnee? But there's another one that it begins with a C and I can't get it.
Comanche?
Comanche.
Yeah,
That's the one I'm picking up. Comanche.
yeah.
That's what you were, a Comanche. You were Native
Oh,
American and you were a woman and you had the gift of intuitiveness and healing. And that's the one that's calling on you now to tap into.
I
Yeah.
also feel like I have a lot of really good intuition.
See?
And even my mom would tell me that, my grandmother had it and my mother had it.
Okay, the grandmother, what nationality the grandmother? Do you know, Anne, what
She
grandmother
would
and
have
you were what?
been yeah, she would have been Irish in the
You
Irish
come
English,
you come from what you would call a witch line. Okay. In that, you weren't, of course, a witch at all, but
right?
the old lore and the natural healing and the vitamins and, I mean, all the things that you could mix together, that would have been people would come to your great grandmother, and then it passed
Mm,
down. Like if you're sick, this is what you get, this berry, and you boil it. And so that intuition, you knew when people were sick what their body needed. So that came through your line.
wow, that
I
makes
know.
Yeah.
sense. My mother
Yeah.
taught me a lot about herbs,
There you go.
what to
See?
use for what. I have books on them. I'm very interested in that. So
Hmm.
See how it shows up in this lifetime then.
that explains so much about that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow, I never would have put that together.
Yeah. So listen, my last name was Hartley, and it was in my 50s when I figured out that I had the karmic line. And here we go. So, and those would be your gifts in this life. Those are your blessings. So if you choose to expand it more, it's there because it's in your DNA. It's in your core. So again, your choice in this life is like, oh, I have those gifts. And do I want to expand them or not? That is your choice. I had an interview and he said, I have this pitch perfect voice and I don't know where it came from. And I never took a lesson in this life, but I always played in a band and he had two lives, one as a minstrel in England and one he was a very sickly child in Vienna. And his parents because he couldn't do anything else, had all these music people come in and teach him music. That was his love. So two lives affected this life. See? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
Wow. So for someone who feels disconnected from their purpose, what's the first step back to themselves?
Yeah, that's the second most question I get. The first one is, why is it so hard? And the second one says, why is it my purpose? And many times your purpose is right in front of you and you don't realize it. It's right there. So this is where meditation comes in. This is where you need to get quiet. So because the answer is inside of you, it's like throwing a pebble in the ocean. All you see is all that massive waves. But if you go down to the very bottom, that's where the pebble and that's where the truth is. So I say to people, tell me what you like. And some people say, I love working with dogs. I love it. I've always had dogs and I love it. Remember, I had this one lady and she said, I said, no, wait, don't I see a dog behind you? In the back there sitting on a mat. And she goes, oh, yeah, well, I only get the dog on the weekends. The dog's in the prison program, for therapy during the week, and I get it on the weekends. And I said, so you don't understand that's what you're supposed to do? And she goes, what do you mean? She goes, I love it, but I have this other job. And I said, okay, the other job is great. I want you to find in the next 2 weeks a class that you can take on starting with dog therapy. She called me. She said, there's one in my college right near me. And then she said, after that, there's this other training program. See, we don't look at sometimes some of the gifts that are right there. And somebody else might say, I had another Japanese lady and she said, I'm not really a leader. I said, yes, you are. You're a leader. You're a communicator. She said, oh, I'm kind of shy. I said, oh, no, you're not. And you're going to lead people and you're going to teach them about your culture. I said, it's in your path. I'm looking at your life. So you've done this before in other lifetimes. And she said, so I said, and you like the outdoors. So look at something that's outdoors and your culture and you can speak up. So now she works in a Japanese garden as, the interpreter, and she takes people all through
Wow.
the garden and explains it. So that's what you have to start doing. Figure out what are some of those little passions inside of you. And I'm not saying you'll get it right away because we all come in with gifts, but we say, okay, now it's time for me. I want to go back and take an art lesson, or I really like healing, but I don't think I heal the traditional way. Maybe it's Reiki I need to take. Maybe it's need to teach yoga. See, I mean, there's different ways, but it's in there from maybe another lifetime, Shannon. You were intuitive, you were a healer. So in this life, you say, I am going to bring knowledge to people, and I'm doing it through a podcast because my gift is my village was that I was a communicator and I talked to the women and helped them in that village. See,
Yeah.
so it comes in a modern day package. So, I mean, you know, so I finally sat down. I had a mentor. I was very good. And I said, so what's my mission? And he said, ask your friends. They'll tell you. And I go, what? He said, they all know it. And so I remember sitting down with a girlfriend. She said, oh, you're a catalyst. You get things going and you're a communicator. I go, how did you know that? Not me. So also ask your friends, what's your best skill? What's your best gift? And they'll go, you are, da, 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 you make things happen. I'll never forget my girlfriend, Mary Margaret, said that just like that. And I go, well, isn't that amazing? And that's what I am. I'm a catalyst to have people look at life differently, to think differently, so they shake up their patterns, so they get moving upward with their energy. And I'm a communicator. So first of all, ask your friends. Okay, Ann, you had a question?
Oh, I was going to ask Shannon, what's mine? What would you say? I'm
I love
curious.
this. Go ahead,
I
Shannon.
have no
Putting you on the
idea.
spot.
Well, for one, this is why I brought you onto the podcast as my co-host, because I feel like that you're definitely a healer and you help people. You're a guide. That's what I feel like, because you were there for me when I was in my darkest moment. You stayed with me. You wouldn't leave, and you helped lift me back out and show me my purpose in life. And this is why I started a podcast and why I'm now writing a book.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I'll second that. You're a healer from that healer line. So it was the herbs and everything that started, but you're also a healer with your energy when you're with someone. You give them what I call light energy, positive energy. Yeah.
Yes.
So Shannon, you were right on for Ann. There you go.
Wow.
Yep.
Thank you. It's interesting.
So viewers, if you're just listening to this, you should see their faces on this. They're like, oh my,
I'm
that really
yes.
makes them
Exactly.
imply something.
I'm really taken back. I've been so excited about you being on the show today, Donna. This is
Thank you.
amazing. I'm so very interested in this, and like Shannon, I want to do a session with you. So yeah.
Thank you. Well, so at 6 years old, I had malnutrition, so I almost died because there was not enough food in my house. So it was a tough start. I went to the other side and I said, I don't want to go back. Earth's too tough. But my mentors were there, my guides were there, and they say, if you don't go back, this is what will happen to your mother, your father, and your brother. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
my mother would kill my father. She would have gone to jail. My brother would have been an orphan. So I said, I'll go back. But also, I had lost my best girlfriend at 6 years old. Holly had come home from school, went to sleep, and never woke up. So I couldn't understand that at 6. Did not know till I was in my 40s that Holly was one of my angels, and she asked to come down to spend time with me. And she told
Oh,
me if she would have lived, then I would have stayed in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and wouldn't have traveled the world and all through Europe and Asia and you know what I mean? And New
Yeah.
Zealand and Australia and Hawaii. So she said I just was able to connect and leave. Okay, at 16, I had my first heart surgery. So my parents argued. My mother's doctor said, nope, don't need it yet. And my father's doctor said yes. And he had better lawyers. So I lost and I said, okay, I'll have the heart surgery. He drove me an hour and a half away to Philadelphia, dropped me off for 5 days. I went through heart surgery by myself.
Oh my
By
God.
myself.
wow.
I know. Okay. And I remember a nurse yelling at me because I was out of my bed. You know, I didn't know what I should stay in bed, not stay in bed. Nobody told me. Okay. So then I had Hollywood, which was eating me up alive. Okay. And then I had the plane crash, the DC 10 plane crash. So, and on my website, you can see that across the top. You'll see the crash. My website is under my name, donnahartley.com. And you look at that crash and you go, wow. And that was the good side. And then I had melanoma stage 3 because I was a surfer. They said, make out your wills. I was a single mom. I had adopted my daughter. She was 6 years old. I had no place to go. So I had to beat that one. Okay. Then I had open heart surgery. Okay. And then I had surgery again during the pandemic. Now, 3 of those, the plane crash happened on a March 1st, the melanoma happened on a March 1st, and the open heart surgery happened on a March 1st, all of different years. So if you don't think that was a spiritual path, put me back in line every time. So did I have it difficult? Yes. Do I look at my life as difficult? No. Now that I'm through it. Don't ask me when I was going through it. I was crying like everybody else. I was blaming everybody else till I realized that these were gifts aligning my soul for the purpose I was here, which is to help people help themselves. I am just that catalyst for you to start thinking, for you to start raising your energy, so you to be a light worker wherever you go. So you stop judging people and judging situations and say, it's not good, it's not bad, but there is a purpose to this. I might not like it, you know,
Yeah.
but there's purpose. And I'm not going to fall back to that lower energy, and that situation. And I get ticked off at people and I want to, and then I go, why am I letting them pull me down? I want to be up here. So I go, okay, there's no right or wrong here. So I got to pay them extra money. I'll pay them extra money, work harder. I let it go. That's what we do as humans. We hold on to patterns and we get angry and we let it affect us the next 10 years. So, and you say, oh, I've been through this in other past lifetimes. I don't have to repeat this now. So I become very aware and I say, let this be the last of the longest of this worst pattern. Okay. And I want to cut it. So sometimes I actually take a string. I cut the toxic relationship in half. I say, I'm here. I'm whole. I want the highest and best good. And this situation or this person is not for my highest and best good. I'm not judging them. I just choose not to be in a toxic relationship. So I'm going to cut the string and I'm going to burn it and I'm going to let it go. Now, you might have to do that a couple times, but I also put a white light around me and say, if anything comes towards me negative, I'm not accepting it because I want to raise my vibration and be higher in this lifetime. And many past lives have given us so much wisdom if we tap into them and so many gifts, and we've all been good in lives and we've all been bad in lives, we've all had to learn. And then when we get to that insight, we don't have to go to the negative path. Even if someone is negative to us, we don't have to go there. So that's why knowing past lives. And so I'm clairvoyant in a past life, and I have your spirit guide here telling me, because you're assigned a spirit guide for all lifetimes. One. And then there's all these others that come in, and then go out. But you always have that one. And that one gives you the message of what your purpose is and what you're completing in this lifetime. And then once you complete this, lifetime after life, then you can go to other higher dimensions and you don't have to repeat the earth cycles. So now, Shannon, do you have children?
Yes, I do. I have 2 boys.
2 boys. And are you married?
Yes.
The same first husband?
Yes, first and only husband for, 33 years now.
And Anne, what about your history?
Married with 2 daughters and 4 grandkids.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So both of you in this life chose to have partners that you would stay with. See what I mean? So that also gives you some extra wisdom that you can say, I have stability. I've had children. I now choose to also develop my spiritual side. See, some people are so in the survival mode, either getting ahead, getting money, or in the survival that they don't take the time to say, let me explore this other side of me, this spiritual side. We have energy on the planet now that's calling us to raise our vibration, to be more spiritual. Now,
Yeah.
do you know anything about Atlantis or Lemuria, those planets? Either one of you, Anne or Shannon?
I've heard about Atlantis,
Yeah,
but not
me
the other
too.
one.
Okay. So before there was Earth as we know it now, there was other civilizations. The Lemuria one was where Hawaii was. That was communities. Men and women were equal. It was wonderful time. But after about 27 years, it was going to self-destruct and was going to be captured by someone else. So it dissolved. Now you have Atlantis. That's the one that most people know because we're living that on Earth now. Atlantis had a very spiritual side, self-healing, telepathic, beautiful towns, but they also had a technology side. And the technology side finally took over the spiritual. In the world now, our goal is to have them work together, the spiritual and the honesty and the love and the technology. So we have that energy from another time and we are healing it so we can work together. So that's why we need spiritual people as well as the technical people. So here we are
Right.
because history repeats itself, and I say,
Yeah.
here we go again. Here we go again. It's another cycle with that. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Exactly. And my son always tells me I was a goddess. He knows I was a goddess before. So I was like, oh,
Okay.
well, if he chose me, then he must have known that.
So Shannon, so do you have a draw towards Egypt?
Not specifically Egypt. No, no.
Wait, Persia.
Yes. Yes.
That's
Persia and that area. Yes.
where you
Yes.
were the goddess in that area. I knew it was
Yeah.
one of those. Yep. Yep. There you go.
Oh, look
So
at
tell your
you.
son he's intuitive. Tell your son he's intuitive. Okay. And tell him to start listening to you now.
Oh, he does. He's very intuitive.
Yes.
And I really think like he's really in tone to like the higher powers and that kind of thing. So more so than any person I've ever met.
How old is he now?
He just turned 27.
See, he's going into Saturn return. He's
Mm-hmm.
awakening to a spiritual path. Now, Anne,
Yeah.
how old are your daughters?
They are 31 and 36.
Okay, the 31 is still searching. She's in her spiritual pattern to say, what's my purpose? Is she married with children yet?
Yes, married with 2 children.
Okay, yeah. So I got that. That's going to be part of her now. Trust me, later on, she's going to be asking you and the other one, the grandkids are going to say, hey, Grandma, tell me about this. I want to know more. So watch the grandchildren. They're going to want to know more. So,
Okay.
Okay. So any more questions, lady? But I know we got to wrap it up here soon,
Exactly. Yeah. I don't have anything else. Do you, Anne?
No, I do not, but I am so interested in this. Like, how did you know your angel's name?
Well, I don't really know her name. I got the first initial. That's all I've been given. But I know
Gotcha.
that I call on her all the time. And this is another good point before I wrap up. We have spirit guides around us. They will not intervene. And that's also our relatives, our parents. They will not intervene until we ask for help. So if you're like, oh, why is my life falling apart? And then, they're like, well, ask us. We can help you. It's like seeing a movie and to someone, don't go through that door. Don't go through that door. They know that information, but it's only when we get quiet and we listen or that intuitive flash comes that we get. So I get intuitive flashes all the time, but I asked for help. all the time. I ask my spirit guide, my mentor, George, I go, George, he loved to smoke a pipe and he loved to eat. He was from Oklahoma. I go, George, what are you doing up there? Are you eating? I need you to help me. I need you to help me. I'm struggling with the situation. I don't know what to do. So then I'll get into it a flash, maybe 2 days from then, maybe a dream. That's when we have to pay attention. So ask your spirit guides. I just ask them casually. It's nothing formal. You can just say, and I got to tell you, for a long time, I thought there's so much that happens in the world. How can I, as one little soul, be selfish and ask for help? And they said, it's not like that. Every soul has value. Every soul has value. So please ask us for guide and help, because we also want you to complete your mission on earth and what you're supposed to do. So if we can help you understand that, and you might get the feeling like, go to this expo and then you meet somebody there. They will help you get a job podcasting. I mean, it's just whatever. And you go, well, that was odd. No, it's not odd. It's being helped by your ancestors and your spirit guides, and they're all around us to help us. So I really call on them. And sometimes I feel I sold pots and pans in Hawaii, put myself through college. I feel my pot and pan boss around me saying, yeah, you go for it. Go ask that person for that show. I go, okay, Chuck, I got it, So, yeah. So I don't look at any lives as bad. If I was killed, if I killed someone, they were all learning lessons. I have learned to forgive my soul. And when I was kind of studying and I was just getting the gift, I remember I saw myself as a dance hall girl in the gold rush days with a red dress. And I said, wow, could I dance? And my red dress was perfect. And the lady said, you're going to be a good past life reader because you don't judge. You just see it for what it is. And you were surviving. Your parents were killed on the way going west and you survived. You know what I mean? It was like,
Right.
So that's why we're so hard on ourselves. So, best way to get a hold of me is my website, and that is under, DonnaHartley.com. That's HARTLEY. And then there's a section on past lives there, and you can just fill in and say, I want a past life or whatever. Then I send you a form. See, what I need is your full name on your birth certificate, your date of birth, and your location, because that's how you came into this planet. That's how I get your soul. And I never go into anyone's life without that. Now I can go in yours and you can ask me about your grandkids, but I have to go through yours to get to them. Okay. And then I give you 2 questions that you say, I really want to know why I'm drawn to this or why I have this pattern with employers that I worked with that we sabotage. Where does that pattern come from? Or where does my unworthiness pattern that I'm afraid to speak up? I let you give 2 patterns, 2 questions. So I'm going to answer those 2. Your spirit guide's going to show me the others. I always look for a life that's either indigenous, Native American, Native in another country, or Native on another planet. Okay. So I look for that. Then and then there's always another one that shows up. I don't know what it is. It always shows up though. Then the spirit guide steps in for the very last one. So I give you 2 lives. Like I might say, you're going west, you're on a wagon train, and you're with your husband. The other one I might say, you're in China, and you're a Buddhist monk, and you're a man, even though you're a female in this life. Which life do you want to hear? So you have to use your intuition, and you choose one. And when you choose that, then your spirit guide says, from that life, this is what you bring forward in this life. And you always choose the right one. It's amazing to me. So, I just be quiet. Yeah, I know. So it's kind of, you become part of it. You become part of unraveling who you were and who you should be in this lifetime. That's why it's important. And and sometimes you have a disease. You don't know where it came from in another life. I'll do this quick story. I have a client and she said, I had knee surgery and it's not healing. And she said, I've done all the therapy and I went to the doctor and she said, he's a very enlightened doctor. He said, I think this is a past life wound that's not letting you heal. So she called me, she set up the appointment and I said, it's your outer knee, your left knee. And she goes, yes. I said, so this is not you in this lifetime, but this was you in another life. When Rome conquered people, you were a man and you were a soldier. And when the slaves that you had conquered didn't walk fast enough, you put an X mark on the outside of the left knee. That's what you're healing in this life. You're feeling their pain. So now you have to forgive yourself for that action, and you have to love those people and forgive them and understand the pain because you're doing it. It's about 2 years now, and now she's almost healed. See what I mean? Once she became aware and she could forgive herself and forgive, that's the way life was. That's how you survived back then. There's no right or
Yeah.
wrongs. That's how you
Right.
survived. But she put that extra negativity in there. That's what she had to heal. So anyway,
That's
and
incredible.
yeah, so there's those kind of things along with the good things. I love to bring up, here's your purpose and here's your healing and here's, you're going to be a teacher and you're, a caretaker and you're, all this and yeah. So we all have both of those sides that we're working on in this lifetime.
This has been such an enlightening conversation. Donna, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your story and insights. This has just been so powerful.
Thank you, Anne. It's my honor. I had to go through hell and back, as they say, to get this gift and to fine tune it. I also
Yes, you did.
I had to face my fears. And that's what I wanted to say to the viewers. It's not going to be an easy path, but it's an incredible path. I always use the example. If I would have stayed in that plane that was burning, I would have died. If I had the fear, I would have died. I had to face the flames. And in those flames, to get out of the exit, you have to go in them, over them, through them, around them. I curved on the right is how I got out. But when I was going down the slide, it was burning and it dropped me. But unless you face your fears and go through them, you get stuck in this life. So I always say you got to go through the fire.
Yep. Exactly. Well, thank you again, Donna, so much for being here on the show with us today. And to our listeners, if this episode resonated with you, be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear this message today. We will have Donna's contact information in the show notes and on our website, traveltimestories.com, where each guest has their own dedicated page. So take a moment to check it out. And thank you for being here with us on Travel Time Stories.
And until next time, keep exploring both the world and yourself and keep making memories for life.